Welcome to Invictus Motors. Well, if you're wondering whether this is the GTS or the GT4, sorry to disappoint you, this is not the 981 GT4, but as a matter of fact, it lives up to that billing and that expectation. It's the Porsche Cayman 981 GTS, and my favorite, the 3.4 litre naturally aspirated engine that produces a phenomenal 335 brake horsepower, 380 Newton meters of torque, 175 miles per hour is the top speed, and a 0 to 62 miles per hour possible in 4.8 seconds. The theme of the video is not about how fast this car can go on a straight line. Well, it's all about how it corners, how it handles, how it is able to hold itself on these beautiful, windy countryside roads, and also the practicality nonetheless. If you're wondering what specification this Porsche Cayman 981 GTS is in, let me just fill you in very quickly. And the next bit is about the practicality of it. Firstly, finished in this beautiful Porsche jet black metallic. You've got the adaptive dynamic cornering lights. You've got the 20-inch 911 Carrera S alloys on the inside. It is brimming with money, because that's what Porsche likes to do, the king of option specification. The paddle shift sport steering wheel with Chrono Sport Plus package, heated sport seats. These are the hardback proper sport seats. They're really sought after, that holds you in and hugs you in. They're both the leather and Alcantara. You've got the leather here on the glove box, leather wrapped gear selector, steering wheel, Alcantara, and leather on your door cards. You've also got the premium maps, as well as the mobile and telephone connectivity. And ultimately, if you're wondering what else the Cayman offers you, is the ability to offer you two boot spaces. Number one, you've got this boot space here at the back that gives you loads of room and storage to put your bits and pieces in there. Let's not forget about that rear diffuser, that centered sports twin exhaust system that sounds absolutely incredible. It takes my breath away, and I'm sure it will yours if this is something you're thinking of buying. And to continue on that theme of space, you've got space here at the front that can fit two medium-sized suitcases, as well as giving you some extra storage space on that rear side. I think what it really deserves next is a test drive, take it through its spaces, and tell you everything you really need to know about. The GTS is, even from a cold start, it sounds absolutely fantastic. And I've got a couple of my colleagues standing around the vehicle, and they're like, wow, is that standard? And yes, that is standard with the GTS, because you've got the power kit. So I didn't start this from absolute cold, ragging the engine. As I said, I've already started it not long ago to move it. The engine was warm, we drove it a little bit, so there's still something in there where it allows me to press the throttle pedal a bit. Now, it being the GTS, you get that more, well, I'd say the slightly more stiffened chassis, which gives you the driver focused capability of it, where as a car, you've got the stiffened chassis that just gives you better handling ability, especially when you're on these countryside roads and you're cornering it. What I absolutely love about the Porsche Cayman is its practicality. Unlike the Porsche, they don't have two seats at the rear, but what they do have is that front boot and the rear boot. And the front boot and rear boot, especially when it's doing some holiday or a few tours, gives you plenty of option for storage space. And this, my friend, I'm in my bog standard settings. I haven't got the Sport Plus turned on. and neither have I got the sports exhaust on, and neither the Porsche active suspension management system on, which stiffens the dampers. So this is the bog standard settings. I get sometimes the question asked by people, oh, the Cayman is a hairdresser's car, the Cayman this, the Cayman that. This is like an entry-level Porsche, and how does it compare to a Porsche 911? Well, let me say this, and this is for a fact. The Porsche Cayman, being a mid-engine car, handles and drives better than a Porsche 911. You've got to remember that the engine behind the rear axle on a Porsche 911 has taken Porsche now circa 75 years to perfect and improve continuously. Whereas in the Cayman, they've got it bang on, spot on, completely right from 2005. And you can imagine they've been building upon that success now for the past 20 years. But really, where the sweet spot of Porsche Cayman ownership is the Porsche Cayman 981 GTS 3.4 litres, naturally aspirated, producing 335 brake horsepower, 380 Newton meters of torque, a top speed of 175 miles per hour, and a 0 to 62 miles per hour possible in 4.8 seconds. But this car has never been about how fast it will go around a straight line. Sports mode on, sports exhaust turned on. This car's been about these windy roads. And it's the ability to be able to corner and to drive this almost to its limit without having to worry about you losing the back end. And you still got the beautiful feel of what a rear-wheel drive sports car should be. And just to kind of put this in context for you guys out there, the Porsche Cayman 981 GTS, or the Cayman of this generation, from a weight distribution perspective, it's 51 to 49%. That is just unbelievable. Performance should never be measured in a straight line, because that is not a true indicator, because the true indicator is how is that performance delivered onto the road. Let me just cover the spec on this one more time briefly. You've got the sports steering wheel with paddle shifts. That gives you a lot of input as a driver, because you can flick through the pedals quite easily. This watch, if you're wondering what this is the Sports Chrono Plus watch. There's a stalk here on the menu, and you can actually go into that setting and activate by, if I press start, that clock will start to measure your lap times. It doesn't necessarily mean that people are using this to time themselves around the track, but it's just the ability to have that goes a long way from a racing pedigree point of view, whether that be timing a journey from home to the train station, or any other journey that you might be doing. Now we're in a bit of traffic. The PDK transmission. Let me just briefly talk about the Porsche PDK transmission. That in German is Doppelkupplungsgetriebe, dual-clutch transmission. It is produced by a company called ZF, and you've got 7 gears, 2 clutches. You've got one clutch working off odd numbers, the other clutch working off even numbers, and the gear changes are absolutely seamless. There's absolutely zero lag in the gear changes, throughout your experience of driving it. Whether that be me puddling through this traffic right now, I'm in second gear continuously, and then obviously when I come to a complete halt, it drops to first gear. But quite naturally, without me having to feel that jerk in the seat or that kickback in the seat, it would naturally softly go into the second gear. And then if I'm doing 30-40 miles an hour, the PDK phenomenally does a job where it puts you in 5th gear and optimizes and gives you the best economy from an MPG point of view that you can imagine. Also, performance-wise, we've talked about its poodling capability. Performance-wise, the PDK gearbox was so highly considered that their GT department for the GT3 and GT3 RS of this generation Porsches only came with a 7-speed PDK gearbox. And that's because they wanted to phase out the manual gearboxes. And obviously they only brought the manual gearboxes back in the generation after Porsche 911 GT3 and GT3 RS, purely because it was asked by the enthusiast. But the PDK offers you the best of both worlds. Both its ability to do a job that is comfortable, that gets you from A to B without you having to be constantly shifting and changing, and ultimately it does a phenomenal job from a performance point of view. Like I explained, that it was the only gearbox that was in the GT3 and the GT3 RS. And what I absolutely love about the 981 GTS, especially with that carbon wing that's on this 911, is the looks and the interest that you get from normal members of the public. But it's still very much an understated Porsche. And that's what Porsches have always been about, the understatedness of them. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any additional questions in regards to its driving capability or performance or anything else you want to know, please feel free to get in touch. Now, in terms of paperwork, we've got a file here that covers all the service history that you need to know on this Porsche Cayman 981 GTS. Obviously, the previous customer, well, the current customer, William Smith, he's owned it from September 2022. And obviously, reason for sale was to upgrade it to a 718 GT4. And then you've got all the service history written down here in 2016 at Porsche Centre Chester, 2018, Porsche Centre Aberdeen, 2020, Porsche Centre Aberdeen again. Then 2022, you had the Vazak, Porsche Specialist. In 2023, you had Brownsburn Garage. And then the most recent one in July 2025, it's been done by us. That included the oil filter, air filter, cabin filter, pollen filter, spark plugs, tri-belt being replaced, and practically all major items being done and addressed. And there's a summary of the service history written here as well, everything we've kind of mentioned and pointed out. This is the optional spec list. It's HPI clear, all checks have passed, and that's all the MOT history. As a matter of fact, other than in August 2021 and another 2 MOTs prior to that, it hasn't registered any advisories on the other MOTs. And then obviously that's the invoice. There's a more recent invoice of works that I mentioned that have been carried out. And last but not least, this is the service book. You've got Porsche Centre Chester, Porsche Centre Aberdeen, and then you've got Porsche Centre Aberdeen again, Visac UK. There's an invoice from the Brownsburn Garage, and it will have a stamp here as Invictus Porsche, as we're the specialist when it comes to these Porsches. I hope I've answered all your questions paperwork-wise and everything you needed to know about this gem of a car. If there's any other questions you've got that I may have not answered, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much for watching our video again. Bye-bye.